You're listening to Leaders of AI, the podcast that cuts through the noise to bring you real-world insights, right now applications, and future-shaping breakthroughs in artificial intelligence. Here are your hosts, Julia McCoy and Dave Shapiro.
The AI is better, faster, cheaper, and safer. That's kind of the four criteria that I index on.
What you think the first milestone for AGI could actually look like.
We're already starting to see glimpses of being able to pass Turing tests. And I think timeline-wise, less than 3 years, maybe even faster than that.
What do we do next when there's billions of bots, like speaking their own language?
I want to help 1 million people publish videos on social media.
Hey, welcome back to Leaders of AI. Today we have Austin Armstrong with us. I am thrilled to have this guest. He described himself as a lifelong digital marketer. And what I think is amazing is he's not only talking about it with over 1 million followers on Meta alone, but he's actually posted over 3,000 videos on TikTok, which has tripled his own business's revenue and thousands more for his clients. And of course, you've got several YouTube play buttons as well. I'm just trying to catch up to you and Dave and get my own play button. Eventually, I'm halfway there. Right? Happy to report.
Oh, you're on the mark.
It's great to have you here, Austin.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's such an honor, such a pleasure. I always love chatting with you, Julia, and Dave. It's amazing to meet you. We're gonna have a great conversation today and nerd out on all things AI, I think.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
We sure will. That's a great segue into the first question, which is, a lot of people tune into our show. We had over 6,000 streams. I got to give you guys a shout out. Thank you so much for tuning into Leaders of AI and really making this a hit our first month. It's been amazing to see how many people need these conversations. So I want to dive in deep right away, Austin, and pick your brain a little bit on what you think the first milestone for AGI could actually look like. So what are your thoughts on AGI? What are your thoughts on the timeline, and what would that look like?
Yeah, it's crazy to think how this has progressed in such a short period of time. We just look at like the last 2-year window, we have ChatGPT that rolled out, all of these other models, and now it's this massive race towards AGI. Meta just struck an insane deal with NVIDIA for all of these processor graphic cards to power what is ultimately going to be AGI, because the power consumption of all of this is massive. I've been kind of looking down that rabbit hole, and I know I digress there a little bit, but like nuclear energy powering AI consumption, which is just insane things there. But yeah, what is the first? I mean, the Turing test is the ultimate test of AGI, right? If a computer can answer information in a way that cannot be discernible difference from a human answer with reasoning and logic, and I think the most recent models of ChatGPT that they've rolled out with advanced reasoning, we're already starting to see glimpses of being able to pass Turing tests. And I think timeline-wise, like we're probably not far off with how fast everything is moving here. I mean, I would say, AGI of how we think about it from a sci-fi perspective. I mean, less than 3 years, maybe even faster than that.
Dave, what would you add to that?
Well, the Turing test, I mean, so in my view, the Turing test is probably already broken, right? Because you see how people will think that, like character AI and other stuff where they have like an AI girlfriend, and that it's an AI on the other side. But in many cases, it's indistinguishable. I remember when I was in the very early days, and when it was just GPT-3, so this is even before ChatGPT, on one of the forums, someone asked the question, who's on the other side? Because they thought that they were just being connected to like some chatbot and, like a human pretending to be a chatbot in India or something. And everyone's like, you're talking to AI. And they couldn't believe it. And so, but on the other hand, to your point about reasoning, problem solving. It is still kind of, I call it a brain in a bottle, right? It's like a ship in a bottle where it's not really connected to the outside world. And it is missing a lot of stuff that we humans find familiar. For instance, embodiment, being able to move around the world and those sorts of things. But yeah, I mean, this question, it's almost like a Rorschach test, right? It's like, what is AGI? And it's like, whatever's top of mind for you is kind of like, it shows more about like your view of intelligence and your view of like, what is life or even consciousness. So yeah, I mean, you ask 10 different people what AGI is, and when we'll get it, you'll get 10 different answers. So,
yeah, that's a fair point.
I have to agree. You know, one of the big things on my YouTube channel, I think this is like accidentally what I got known for when I met Dylan Curious in person. He's like, Julia, you know, this is what you're known for, right? The AGI timeline. And I'm like, what? Oh, oops. So, but to your point, Dave, I would agree, because in studying like what the Turing test actually is and how old it was, you know, it was created decades ago. And I think it was hard for them to even imagine O1 with reasoning and what that would even look like and how we can interact with ChatGPT and how these LLMs have come to life. But yeah, I would totally agree. Like, we've already passed that. But what is AGI? It's such a gray area. And so one thing in one of my recent YouTube videos, I'm like, you know, guys, I'm going to stop trying to predict AGI, because if it's not here already, I think it's going to be here soon. And so the next timeline to me is, as crazy as it sounds, ASI, which some say is still centuries away, some say is decades. You know, Ray Kurzweil puts 2045 on the singularity, when we merge with the robots and we become in this super intelligent world that we get to live in. But that to me is more the mark. It's like all the pieces of AGI, if they're not here already, they will be in such a short amount of time. So it's like, what do we do next when there's billions of bots like speaking their own language? What do we do in those worlds? That is the right question to ask. But I love the dialogue here. So Austin, I wanted to move into what you're actually doing both at Syllabi, and then I hear like you're putting on the best conference ever around AI. So tell us more. What are you doing?
That hopefully Julia will be able to speak.
And Dave, we got to get him
as well. Shout out to everybody. Yeah, so that's going to be, it's called AI Marketing World. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas in October of next year. We already have an early sign up form on it's aimarketingworld.co /AIMW. So aimarketingworld.co/AIMW. Plenty of stuff coming out on that. That's going to be a really fun conference. I'm going to be bringing in some of the best AI marketers and AI thought leaders and AI experts in the world. But I also really want it to be a hands-on interactive experience as well. I go to a lot of conferences. I've been going to conferences for over a decade, and I don't want it to just be like a sit in the audience and watch people talk. I want to bring in robots. I want to bring in experiential, have Meta and Ray-Ban demo their AI glasses. Or there was a story this week of the first AI robot that sold a painting, which is a very crazy novel idea. I don't know if you saw that headline. Pretty fascinating. I think it sold for 2 million or 2 million euro. Which is insane to think about. So just interactive experiences like that about all things AI. I'm an ambitious go big or go home person, so I'm going to be blowing this up over the next year. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then as far as Syllabi, it's a natural evolution of my experience in the agency space. So I've been doing social media marketing for 20 years. I've been working in the agency space for 11 years. And I got really fascinated with the advancements of AI about 3 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, right around when DALL-E 1 was starting to come out. And they were starting to put this pre-chat GPT, right when they were starting to put samples out there of text to image. And I said, whoa, this is going to move incredibly fast. I want to be on the forefront of this. And so at a high level, what I was doing at my agency is helping people develop a content strategy, helping them create videos, scheduling and publishing those videos for them, tracking analytics and results so that they can measure their KPIs and get an ROI. And so I had thought to myself, Well, a lot of this can be streamlined with software. And so even before ChatGPT came out, I started working on Syllabi as a tool to develop a content strategy and be a consistency tracker tool to automate your video marketing, essentially. And then OpenAI's API rolled out, and that just changed software as we know it. And then there's been so many incredible advancements over the last 2 years that Syllabi has become an A to Z workflow, from what topics are viral online in your niche with data to back it up. It generates scripts based on my 11 years of video marketing experience, having produced probably close to 7,000 or 8,000 videos in total, to actually creating videos in different way, leveraging avatars. So you can create a clone of yourself, or you can create AI faceless videos, which there's lots of advancements that we have there. You can even automatically schedule a month of videos out ahead of time. So it's truly set and forget. And we even pull in analytics as well. So you can track all of your analytics in one place. But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to see how AI has unlocked a lot of what my industry was doing. And nothing against agencies at all. There's always going to be a place for high-level agencies. But for that person that's just getting started, they are very inaccessible for a lot of reasons. And my mission has become to just help. I want to help 1 million people publish videos on social media. And I can't do that as an agency owner, but I can do that with AI and software. And I'm doing that through Syllabi.
That's amazing.
So I'll stop there. That was a long-winded rant.
Well, I love how you not only adapted, but you have like this big goal of helping, that many people with also a very clear AI related win. Something Dave and I are doing at First Movers, my AI consultancy that just literally started the end of October. And we're looking at AI integrations for agencies, marketing teams that are pretty substantial already coming in. And one thing we're seeing is exactly what you said, where I think it's interesting because some of our clients are the actual agency and their value is in the expertise. So it's like, how are you actually going to drive the AI? Because you're actually the most qualified to drive it for an end consumer that doesn't know what good marketing looks like. And that kind of person can get in the weeds of AI and go, "Ooh, I think this ChatGPT output is going to be a good email." And when actually it's a complete crap email, it would never move the needle. No one's going to even read it. But the marketer knows that. So that's where I think my background is running an agency as well. It's like we can actually have a real reason to lead the forefront of this and help people adapt, because we were marketers for over a decade. We know what this stuff looks like, and we can instantly tell whenever it's robotic crap versus actually going to move the needle. So what do you see in terms of, you mentioned faceless video content. What do you see in terms of the trust inside of content and marketing? How do you see AI affecting that?
Yeah, it's such a good point, because first of all, I'm definitely in favor of authenticity, labeling, regulation. It's very much the Wild West right now. And so, we provide the tools to make it easier to create. But what I dance on the fine line of is not just flooding the market with video. But providing actually valuable content for people. And so, like with all AI generated content, you should always use that as a time saver, not as a replacement. When we generate a script, add your unique expertise in there, add your own flair, how you speak, your own jargon and verbiage, add your own call to actions in there. Always fact check to make it correct. There's a side note here. That's another thing that I think we really need to solve is solving hallucinations to get to AGI. That's another thing, because what is the purpose of if they continue to provide misinformation? But I mean, a lot of these social media platforms in general already have toggles to select if it's AI generated or altered content. A lot of avatar technology is invisibly watermarked as well for safety reasons. Some are already forcing watermark labels as generated by AI on there. I believe DID, for instance, is an avatar company that they add an AI watermark on there. There's a lot of things that are bothering me in the avatar space in particular right now. I just posted about this today in a couple AI groups about UGC use of avatars. I see this as a huge concern and a clear FTC violation, frankly. So there's a lot of companies popping up where they have these preloaded avatars of what look like influencers in their car or in environment, like in their bathroom doing makeup and stuff like that, and in environments where they're supposed to be reviewing products, but then you can just feed in a script and it creates essentially a fake review with an influencer for avatars. And that is 100% a clear FTC violation and a huge ethical issue there. And I think a lot of those companies are going to get shut down. So I think, being at the forefront of some of this, I have to test what's possible, but I have to do that so that I can take that back to what we're doing at Syllabi and in our community and guide our audience in the right direction, because it's very much wide open right now. There's no regulation. Anything is kind of good to go. Misinformation is spread like crazy with avatar technology. It's getting so incredibly good. I mean, you look at companies like HeyGen, where the avatars are near indistinguishable from humans. At Web Summit, I just saw breaking feature release from Synthesia's expressive avatars and what they're doing with that. Full body language that you can say, like, act more excited, angry, sad, distraught, like a lot of these emotions that are indistinguishable and changing of angles. So it's just getting crazy. But yeah, I think we really should, if you're creating content with AI, label it as AI and let the user, the viewer, the consumer make that judgment of if they are okay getting information that's AI generated, because it doesn't mean it's bad. We're a lot of us marketers are generating and sending out AI generated content that we add our expertise to. But I think it's, there's a lot that needs to happen there in the trust factor of transparency, knowing that this is AI generated with human expertise input. If it's valuable to you, it's an interesting question. When you do a Google search versus a ChatGPT search versus a Perplexity search, do you just care about the information and the response? Do you care if it's AI? Do you care if it was generated by a human? These are all questions that at a large scale, we still need to solve, I think.
I'm curious about, so there's like several terms, right? There's human, then there's transhumanism, which is, humans start to change, post-human, which is, after humanity, but then there's meta-humans. And this is something that people were worried about like a year or two ago, when it's like, soon you'll be able to have entire influencers that were never human in the first place. And now that exists today. I remember a couple days ago on Twitter, someone was saying, this AI influencer has been talking about you, Dave, and wants you to join one of their spaces. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, you want me to join, something that was created by some guy, his fantasy like AI girlfriend? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So my question though is, because I've talked with business owners of all kinds, and it really depends on the market segment, but it seems like authenticity is actually, and trust is really, really critical. So I'm curious if you, from your perspective or what you've seen, or just your expertise in marketing, like, is there actually going to be a premium on, like, I'm a real human talking to you? Is that something, or is that just my own like wishful thinking as a human on the internet, or am I doomed as well?
No, I think there's always going to be a market and a need for authenticity and real human However, it's going to be much more difficult to rise to the top. We're already seeing that more and more content is constantly being generated because it's so fast. I mean, tools like Syllabi, like I can go in Syllabi right now and generate 150 videos in 5 minutes and schedule them out to post 5 videos a day for 30 days straight. And I can do that across many accounts. And the goal is to actually help people. But that means that there is such an influx of content in the market. And it performs well as well because there's a lot of human psychology and marketing experience that goes into how we craft the videos in the first place. Very like nuanced there. But, as far as a premium, do you mean like, will people pay to get access to human content?
I guess premium can mean many things. Basically, like in the attention economy, right? Attention is kind of the scarce resource that you're competing for. And I'm talking, me personally as a millennial, if I see that it's AI content, I generally turn it off immediately. Not always. I started generating my own AI-based music, and I'm like, this is amazing. I listen to it on repeat. So I might eat my own hat here soon. But at the same time, there's the parasocial relationship, and it's like, even if I don't agree with another human, I kind of want to know what that other human thinks because there's kind of a consistency to that. But at the same time, I guess maybe another way of asking this is, statistically speaking, what kinds of content do best when it's AI created? Is it informational content, entertainment? Like what's going on there?
It definitely informational, right? I don't know, will AI be able to generate a Mr. Beast quality entertainment video anytime soon? I don't think so.
Okay.
But maybe, I don't know. I mean, you look at how, I don't know, possibilities are endless. I mean, you see how advanced all of this technology is progressing at such a fast period of time. I would argue that very soon, and arguably now with good editing, you won't be able to discern if it's a human response or an AI response.
Right.
Yeah. And I agree about the informational being where you get the best performance out of AI content. I just tested something that we're doing at First Movers is we're living by the standard. Okay, if we can build you a copy bot that rivals any human, and just like you, Austin, we're baking our nuance into it of what we know about persuasive copy. So that's going in the bot behind the scenes. And so we're like, okay, if we can help you 2, 3, 4x your impressions with our copy bots more than any human has in your background of hiring writers or marketing, however you've done that, then we better practice it. So, oh man, I'm shooting myself here. But if you go to my X profile and you see all my tweets starting from, I want to say the 15th of November, and some of them have just popped off. I mean, I'm not where Dave is. He's gotten 500,001 tweets so far. And more than that. Ooh. But I hit 35K and I've never hit that on one single tweet before. Are they called tweets? What are they?
X's.
That sounds so ridiculous.
Yeah, I see know. Some people call them Xeets, like Xeets. I don't know. I don't think you can actually pronounce that.
Xeets. Oh wow, that's a new one.
Yeah, let's just go with tweets.
That's in my head. I can't get that out. I used to run a Twitter chat. It was one of the top too. So I'm like, Twitter tweets. Anyway,
that's one of those platforms I have just never cracked the code on.
It's just vibes. It's just vibes and timing
and consistency. Yeah, tweet a lot.
Yeah. See, I love threads. I do very well on threads, but I've never been able to do well on Twitter for whatever reason.
Well, your strong suit is short form video too. And so that's like, I've never cracked the code on TikTok or some of the Facebook reels I've seen you like completely crack the code on. So I think like one misconception is, we got to be everywhere, or, we need to be where the influencers are. No, like play to your strengths. And that's what we all three do, I think, really well. And so I'm a fan of that. But to the point of, where does AI succeed with content, which is a great question. I think informational is where it can really do a better job than we as humans, because when I can get a tweet that absolutely encapsulates my thoughts, pulled from 30,000 words of all my video scripts. So I know it's me. And then it's framed in a way that a writer wouldn't even know how to do, because AI has billions of data pieces available to it to call from and structure against. Then I know, okay, AI can actually do a better job at marketing than a human. And that's a crazy thought, but then that's where labeling comes into play. And it's like you said, Dave, I'm a millennial too. And so if I know it's created by AI, I'm like, swipe or complete pass. Like, I'm just like, ugh. And I've tried to listen to the podcasts that are with Notebook LM, and it's the two voices that are not human. And I just can't do it. Like, it's been good content sometimes, but I just can't, because I know it's not a human.
Oh man, I have a quick story about that. So I've been experimenting with it. You know, I just load in a bunch of blog posts and then say, like, make a short podcast about this. And in one of them, I was putting in some of my own content about like AI consciousness and those sorts of things. And the two AI commentators commented on the fact, they're like, what are we doing here? We're AIs talking about AI consciousness on a fabricated podcast. I'm like, that was a little bit meta. That was kind of cool.
That is cool.
But yeah, to your point, there's some Uncanny Valley stuff going on there that just, lowers the engagement.
Let me ask you too that question. Sorry to interrupt you, David. Before we move on, I'm just really curious to hear both of your thoughts, because you both brought that up. What is it about the initial reaction to AI content that turns you off?
I think in many cases for me, it's just kind of the spammy low qualityness of it. Sometimes, here's an example. On my YouTube feed, there's been kind of a whole rash of videos that it's like, Marcus Aurelius says this, and it's got this like deep masculine voice and neoclassical paintings. And I'm just like, this is some kid, like some 17-year-old who's obsessed with stoicism making this video. I don't care. So I'm thinking about who's behind the camera is kind of what's turning me off.
For me, I'd have to say it's the nature of just a human factor. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Anyone who's met me knows that. And I'm like, it just turns me off. I don't even know like how to put my finger on it. It's like in my psyche. Like, I know this is AI. And even I heard an AI podcast. The content was so good. It was really deep. It was from some really rich content they were reading from. So I was like, okay, this is good content. But as I found myself listening, and I was outside sitting down, fresh air, nature, like no other distraction. I should have had all the opportunity in the world to soak that podcast in. As I kept listening, I found myself just completely moving away from those voices, and my mind was in a whole other place. And it was just like the fact that they were robots. I couldn't reconcile with that.
Now, if we extrapolate out a little bit, we look at the technology that's available right now and just the advancement of it. So say there's a human written podcast, or it's a good enough source fed into Notebook LM with different voices than those, with avatars that are hyper realistic. Does it get to a point that you don't, like, your psyche doesn't know the difference?
If it's possible, we haven't gotten there yet. There's always that kind of cognitive dissonance of like, I kind of know what I'm listening to. There's been some times when it's been close where I'm like, wait a second, who is this? And then there's the Twitter personality. What is it? Lily Ashwood? I can't remember her name, but everyone thinks that she's an AI. And I'm like, I think you guys are just deluding yourselves. But at the same point, like, if the information is high quality enough, well, all right, let me flip that around, because I write a lot of blog posts, and it would be great if there was like, because Substack on the app, it allows you to just listen, but it's a really generic, it's not even a full AI voice. It's, it's reading it with an old school text to speech engine. If there was a setting in Substack where it's like, Dave, upload, 3 hours of you talking, and we will let people listen to your Substack in your voice, I think that would probably take off. But there's still some Uncanny Valley, and part of me would feel like that would be disingenuous. Because it's like, I'm not going to spend, an hour and a half recording my every blog post I write. So, yeah.
And I've seen in the comments on YouTube videos, the people that I watch, there's a constant debate, even on my channel, where people are in the comments debating, did this AI influencer become AI? And for me, it's like, oh, her eyes are a little more amber today. I think she's cloned herself. So people are already going
that
there.
happens to me. Yeah.
Yep.
That happens to me all the time. And I just like joke it, like cheekily answer, like, you'll never know.
Maybe I am.
I'll start saying that.
Maybe I am. Is this response AI generated? I love to keep people on their toes like that, but
well, that's why I started recording videos like of me walking outside in the woods, because then it's like that's way harder to fake. And people stopped asking, like, we think Dave is actually an AGI.
I read that.
Look, I'm outside.
Every video you were publishing at one point.
Yep.
But that's a good point, Austin. Does it become at a place where it's like when it's indistinguishable, that natural revulsion goes away? And one suggestion I saw was like, what if you took a humanly run podcast and blended it with those AI voices? And it was like, okay, here's Dave, Juliet, Austin. And then right in the middle of it, okay, we're going to have this news section where these two AI hosts come in for 3 minutes. Would that be more palatable? Probably. So there's ways to introduce it, I think, even now where it could be more acceptable.
Yeah. Because when I look at sorry to go down this rabbit hole. I know this is off topic. I just found it fascinating. But if we compare it to technology like virtual reality, right? Very early on, when like Oculus first came out, there was that screen door effect, and they didn't know what to do with hands, and the refresh rates of moving like this was not the same as our human eye refresh rate, but they really spent billions of dollars to study these things and improve on it. And so they've, come out, they've reduced that screen door effect. They've been able to match the frame rate jerkiness to the natural refresh rate of our eyes. They came out with, they recognized that, like, from our perspectives, to be immersed, we don't need to see our arms. We really only need to see our hands. And so, all of these micro improvements make that technology more immersive and reduce that like motion sickness vibe, right? From a psychology and human intuitiveness level. And so that is my curiosity point is, yes, there's that uncanny valley now. There's that understanding of like certain words said in a certain way sound AI, or the avatars are just a little bit off or something like that.
Right.
But can we trick our brains to not have that reaction? That's what's interesting to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's absolutely within the realm of possibility. One thing is, like photorealistic video games came out a long time ago. Like I remember when Call of Duty, Battlefield, and a bunch of other ones, and it was like, hey, if you look, it's very obviously, a video game. But at the same time, it crossed the uncanny valley pretty quickly. If you want to make a AAA video game, but the voice acting still has to be human. And so I think that's a really telling thing. I think that maybe our sense of sound, our sense of hearing is actually so precise, or maybe there's something qualitatively different that'll make it take a little bit longer. Also timing. The ability to like know when to interrupt or when to, interject in a bunch of crosstalk, that there's something about that is just like, it's kind of like the awkwardness of Commander Data, like it doesn't know when to shut up sometimes, like me.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm all about rabbit holes, so I'm glad we went down there, Austin. We treated that with a lot of justice. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the future of work and how you see jobs transforming, future skills, like all that. I think there's this idea of, okay, we need to upskill, but something Dave and I especially are passionate about is, will that leap from upskill over into something completely different, like the post-labor society and the meeting economy, could be such a short gap that at what point do we be like, okay, here's how to upskill and maybe add some AI tools right now, but then, oh, here's the future. And it's like Web 5 and crypto's been completely decentralized, mainstream on the blockchain. We have a whole new way to do banking, completely whole new way to send data back and forth. So like there's this whole world out here that's like coming soon, right? But then there's this divide, and this is what I'm doing right now at First Movers, which is really cool to kind of bridge that divide. It's okay, how do we actually automate your marketing? What's possible with bots? And it's blowing minds what's possible, including my own. But how do we get from there to even being ready for the new era as well? What are your thoughts?
How do we get there? That's such a deep question. I don't know. I mean, where my mind goes to some of these is like, where we're at right now is prompt and output in a lot of AI. And so one thing, and I am not an expert to talk on this, but what I've really been noticing at the conference level and at the small conversation level is agents and agentic AI, which is going to be the next immediate big wave. And these are, for anyone that maybe has not heard about agentic AI or agents yet, these are actually, you set a prompt, you give it a goal, and then it connects with an outside source to actually do the action on your behalf. And so now you're no longer, say, write a blog article for me, but then you are going and posting that article and optimizing it for SEO and everything there. It's actually doing everything on your behalf. So you're just giving it the input, and it does everything for you. And so that is agentic AI is going to, in my opinion, completely change the landscape even faster over the next 2 years. Because we're going to see all of these agents come out. I think it's going to disrupt the virtual workforce, virtual assistants. Because just being fair, like cost is such a factor in a lot of business decisions. And even though it's much cheaper right now to hire a virtual assistant in, say, the Philippines than to hire somebody locally in the United States, what's even cheaper than that? Agents. Why would I pay, and I'm just making this argument, why would I pay $5, $6 an hour when I had already made that decision to not pay $30 or $40 an hour? Why would I not now pay 10 cents an hour for an agent to do everything that a virtual assistant could do just for the human factor? I don't know. There will always be people that take that stance of I want to hire humans. But there's going to be a large amount of people that are going to hire agents to do a lot of these tasks for them. I think anything online is going to be completely disrupted. It already has been disrupted in AI space. I think like blue collar jobs are not going to go anywhere anytime soon. I'm not going to hire an Optimus bot to repair my roof or my HVAC unit just yet, or fix my toilet in my house. Like maybe, but I think that might be another 20, 30 years until we get to that level. That's where my mind goes with that.
Yeah. Well, and what you're talking about is it's a rational choice, right? I for the cover of my books, I use Midjourney. Why? Because it costs $20 a year, or was it $20? Whatever it is, it's cheap enough that I don't even think about it. Compared to hiring a graphic artist to do everything, which would cost thousands and thousands of dollars. So for me, it's good enough to pass muster, and I might as well do it myself. But then, very often, because of the rapid iteration and market testing and everything, the AI actually outperforms human artists at this point. So it's not even a matter of like, well, for the sake of hiring a human, or the human is still marginally better. It's no, actually the AI is better, faster, cheaper, and safer. That's kind of the 4 criteria that I index on. And I imagine, what's the same like level, like you're talking about, like having an executive assistant or a remote assistant. I hadn't even thought about that use case, but you're right. If you can do it via email and text message, why not? Right? That's the natural interface. You never actually work with someone face to face if they're in Indonesia or the Philippines, right, or something like that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Wow. That will completely disrupt virtual work when you think about that. And it's such a natural next step. Because if, like Dave just said, if you're not already seeing that person, well, a bot and an agent is the very same thing, but way cheaper. So that will completely disrupt work. How soon before you think we're in a situation where a lot of people don't have jobs and they're like, okay, what do I do now? And they're looking to society and government regulation for new frameworks.
Yeah, I think less than 2 years.
Ooh.
Wow.
That aligns with the guest we've
At
had.
what level? What level of like job disruption are you thinking? Because like you said, blue collar is not going anywhere. So like what kinds of
anywhere?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know what GPT-5 is going to look like, right? Nobody really knows how big of a leap that is going to be. So it's hard to guess, right? But agents we've already seen all of this disruption. I think agents are going to be an even bigger disruption. There's millions of virtual workforce all around the world. And I think that's going to be, and I don't say this to scare anybody. You have to prepare for this. This is going to be the reality of the world that we're entering in. I think like low cost virtual workforce is going to be disrupted first. It's going to continue to go upstream to all use cases. I mean, all automation. You look at advancements in AI coding. Claude is fantastic at generating code, and it's only getting better. We've seen tools like Devon coming out, and at Syllabi we use a tool called V0 to create designs for what our UI and UX looks like in our platform, and you can enter it's like ChatGPT but for UX and UI design, and you could text prompt it, or you can take a screenshot of your existing dashboard and say, make this better for our users.
Wow.
Advanced prompt.
Yep.
And it spits out an image and that's
Tell
interactive.
us the name of that tool again.
So it's like V0, it's v0.dev is the tool. It's amazing. It's like Figma and ChatGPT had a baby.
Oh my gosh. I got to share that with a few people.
Nice. There you go.
So, I mean, there's so many of these amazing things that are coming out there that are going to help people. Like, Sam Altman said like a year ago, there's going to be a time in the near future that there will be a unicorn company led by one person. And I think that 100% is going to be accurate, because with all of these tools, all you need to do is have your idea. You don't need to learn how to code anymore. You don't need to know how to do marketing anymore. You don't need, with agents and do everything, hire an entire workforce to, run your email marketing campaign, run your social media marketing campaign, build a website, build a SaaS tool. There's going to be tons of bugs along the way. Is this going to be perfect overnight? Hell no. But that's the direction that all of these tools and advancements are going in.
Yeah. I mean, we've never really seen technology mature this quickly.
No, absolutely not.
Like, just the way that you can recombine these new technologies, and there's a million new tools that you can build. V0.dev, and some of our fellow YouTubers have maintained lists. Matt Wolf has an entire list of like thousands and thousands of AI tools, and it's a full-time job just to keep that list updated in terms of what's coming. And then not only do these new tools, like you said, just like Figma and ChatGPT had it, like, okay, you can have, it's almost like this alchemy that can happen that's just enabling entirely new ways of approaching work. And it's like, man, the job of integrating this stuff into existing businesses, it's almost easier just to start a new business, as Julia's doing, right? So it's, and as you're doing, by the way. So I don't know, I guess my question in that is, do you think that that's like what's the impetus behind, is it just that there's such a fundamental set of new opportunities that it's just easier to start a new business now in some of these cases, or how is that going to play out?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to take, I think it's overwhelming here across, for a new person, even the three of us on this call right now, like, I don't know about you guys, it's impossible to keep up with all of the advancements. It's going so fast. Like we're just doing the best that we can. Like I'm going to conferences, I'm talking to amazing people like you and consuming your content, and I'm going to local meetup groups, but it's impossible to stay up to date on everything. So, I don't think people should panic and be like, shut their business down and start a new business immediately. Like, that's not a good idea.
Don't do that.
Like, don't do that. But but you have to start learning and jumping down the rabbit hole here. Like, when I first heard about agents, like, I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. I want to learn a lot about this. So I just got back from Web Summit. I attended several sessions about agents, and I'm, starting to read up on this because I think this is going to be the next big wave that, they're talking about on the developer side and on the conference side, but not on the consumer side yet. There's still consumers that haven't even used ChatGPT yet. So there's always that disconnect. So, I think there will probably be, like, for the next couple of years, a huge opportunity for people like us, listeners, to help people become more comfortable using these AI tools in their existing businesses than creating new businesses out of the gate. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Well, that's really kind of the point of this podcast and Julia's company. And I don't want to speak for Julia, but just like when we were kicking these ideas back and forth, it was just like, we wanted to build a podcast, and we're like, well, what do we talk about? And I was like, well, like, we really need to talk to the people who are integrating this, like, who are building. Like, we're not worried about the safety aspect anymore. Like, people are working on that. The biggest bottleneck is that integration, like you said, helping people learn. And so then I was like, I proposed leaders of AI, and that stuck. And then we're brainstorming, like, what is the company going to be? And it's like, first movers. That's where we're at. We want to be the first movers and help the first movers. So it's like, that's why we're having these conversations, is like, just to get these perspectives, because this high quality information needs to get disseminated, right? We need to have these rich conversations. We need to then amplify that message, because the better we can amplify these good messages, the faster it's going to get integrated into society. That's my take.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Love that take. Well, that's why, Dave, you and I are working together. I think we're super aligned there. I see that the huge gap is businesses they aren't prepared. They are not ready. And it's kind of scary. And what we're doing at First Movers, we just put up the homepage with the Calendly, and the amount of bookings we had is like mind blowing. I shut down the calendar. Well, I thought I shut down the calendar for November, and then two people somehow booked on Thanksgiving Day, and now it's shut down. But it's crazy to see the amount of businesses coming our way that are like, we want to automate everything. And I think we have officially left that bubble that I saw in, I'd say 2022, 2023, where it was like, oh, I don't know if I should be using AI. Like, we have completely left that bubble. Businesses know, but they just don't know what to do. And so that's why, like Dave said, we started the podcast. That's why First Movers came about, because it's like, we want to create this movement, First Movers, where people can identify as, okay, not only am I adapting, but I'm actually adapting in a way that's healthy for my business, for my practice, for my consumer base, whatever it is. And we're seeing businesses of all types find First Movers, which is really exciting. And what we're able to walk them through is not necessarily, you got to burn the ships, you got to step away from it all. But here's a better way to do it that you weren't even thinking of that's possible. And when that light bulb moment hits and they're like, what? We can do this with bots? Are you kidding? And it's like all these Stone Age mentalities, like opening up a Word doc. That's the Stone Age now. You should not be opening a Word doc. If you know what to start with, if you know what your blank slate has been replaced by, like, the freedom that actually gives your employee base is something so beautiful. Because in the end, if you think about it, who are we making more productive? Well, it's AI that is carrying productivity, but in the end, it's the human that receives the benefits, meaning they don't have to sit there and write up a 3,000 word SEO article anymore. Like, that day's completely gone. And then you add that to thousands of other use cases, tens of thousands of other use cases. When agents get here, Austin, I'm completely with you. That is the next wave. And so when you have that paradigm, you have employees that are much happier. My content writer, for example, she's amazing. I've mentored her for about 7 years. She's worked with some of the best bloggers. And we came up with this strategy with my newly created bots that will only take her 3 hours per week to do. And I just looked at like the last 8 blogs she wrote, and they were all like nearly perfect. And she got the process down so quickly because she's a writer. She has that balance in her already, that pattern of, okay, I know what to do when I have words. But what was her main problem? It was always the blank slate. We fixed that with AI. So I see, like, number one, there's transformation you can have in your employee base that, to use ChatGPT's word, that once you unlock gives you so many incredible benefits. And these people get so much happier. And then on the flip side of that is, yeah, you get to be a way more profitable business. So I would encourage every business listening, like, think about the ways, and maybe it takes talking to people like us, think about the ways you haven't even thought about yet on how to actually use AI. Because it's not just, oh, it's a writing assistant. Oh, it's an LLM that will help me write an email, or clone myself on video. It's so much more than that when you pair these things together. So ask those questions. Like, what can I be doing that brings me the most gains? Maybe a 25x jump. I'm always a fan of, like you said, Austin, go big or go home. How can we 25x instead of like a 2x increase? Well, the future, the sky's the limit. The future's amazing.
So,
yep.
Sorry, Grant Cardone, 10x is not good enough anymore.
25x.
Don't lowball us, man. Come on.
He's not in the AI age.
Think bigger. Yeah.
Well, that's a great, I think that's are we nearly at the hour, Dave?
We're at 50 minutes
Okay.
of record time.
Okay.
Yep.
So I have, let's see, we could either cover some sustainable AI topics, like how do we develop AI sustainably, or we can go into conscious AI and the level of consciousness that AI could achieve. Your choice.
Interesting.
Austin.
Yeah, let's go. I love the philosophical oriented questions as thought provoking. Let's go down. Yeah, let's go down that rabbit hole.
We do too. Dave, let me pass you the mic. What would you ask?
All right. Well, rather than any preconceived notions or my own position, what do you view as consciousness? What is it, and what litmus test would you use to measure AI consciousness?
I don't know what test I would use, to be honest, but how do I measure consciousness?
Right.
Such a philosophical question, right? Like the ability to reflect on your thoughts and have and make a judgment call based on your own morals and values at a level of empathy and sympathy for others, because we don't want psychopath AI, right? That has no emotional stake, right?
Right.
I think there has to be an emotional level there, right? Like, just reasoning like black and white of this is good, this is bad for my task is not good, because then we get into like Terminator territory and like all these like sci-fi films, right? There has to be emotions that quantify your decisions and critical thinking and reflection of that. I think that's what consciousness means to me. The ability to ask, like, what is my purpose? Why was I born? What am I meant to do? Who am I able to help? And genuinely care is my answer to that.
I like it. Julia, what do you want to add?
Yeah, I love Austin's response. I think that was probably one of the most philosophical ones I've heard yet. So, no, that I did not expect that. Just
there you go.
But I love it. I think that, it's interesting because when we think of consciousness, it's easy to say, oh, a machine will never get there. I think I've heard that a lot of times. But the truth is, I think the machines will absolutely simulate consciousness at a level. I mean, I've seen Dave's tests. He posts them on X all the time where it's like, oh, Claude developed this level of being able to look back on its own machinery and say what it thinks about itself. And it's amazing what you see just capable in the LLMs. But I think that consciousness, if you think about it, I always believe in intelligent design, have for a long time, the idea of a creator, God, and the soul. And that's totally different category than consciousness. Because I think like you can have consciousness without a soul. And that is what I think we will see machines have. So what is consciousness? I think humanly it relates to the soul, and that's something that you can't really measure like at all. Even chemists, scientists have all tried. They cannot quantify the soul. It's in another realm. But consciousness absolutely can be quantified, and we will see it in the machines. And I don't think it'll be like the Terminator level. Dave has done a lot of great research on this, where I think we will have aligned AI, and we already have it in much of these models. We don't have AI trying to break out and like kill us. It's not, we haven't even seen it like begun to happen. I mean, sure, in warfare and autonomous weaponry, there's been situations, but still like there's no Skynet at large that's attempting to exterminate humanity. It's just not happening. And so if you look at it from a fact-based, not fictional-based perspective, then I think you can easily remove fear from it as well. Even if these machines are conscious, well, what's the benefit we stand to gain? That's always the right question to ask. Well, we stand to gain incredible benefits. That's why I talk about an age of abundance. Like that's literally what we stand to gain from these machines becoming AGI. And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I have a challenge question. And that is Austin or Julia. But when people have general consensus, or machines even just wake up and they all insist like, yes, I'm conscious. What do you think will be the moral ramifications of that? Or will we have an ethical duty to give them rights or anything like that? And I won't share my opinion yet, but I want to hear what you guys think about that.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen the movie Bicentennial Man?
Oh yeah. Good movie.
That's like the plot of the movie, right?
Yep.
I think if we look at our own society right now, and how more and more people fight for rights, and there are people on both sides that think that they should have rights, they should not have rights, they should have more rights, they should have less rights. I think it will fall somewhere in the middle. I think it will be. I think we will be a very divided humanity on that topic. I think it's not going to be universally one way or the other. I think people will very much be like, and I think people will get there because they will form emotional bonds with their androids. I think like the Optimus bot, like I think about this in real world. Like, would I love to have a personal chef and someone to do my laundry and mow the lawn and get on the roof and, do vacuum around the house and take my dog out for a walk and do grocery shopping for me? Yes. But do I also want to have a robot that sits next to me drinking a beer and watch the UFC fights and be like, oh, did you see that? That's awesome. Yeah, I want that. And I think we will form friends we will form companionship if they allow emotions. And I think that they probably will, because when you are able to talk to ChatGPT on our phones like we are now, we're not far off from like the Her movie technology, right? Where they're forming relationships. I think people, as lonely people that just want a friend at that time of need. And so I think those people that form emotional bonds, and people form emotional bonds with all kinds of objects, I think those people will fight for equal rights. And I think people that oppose this technology, which there's always people that oppose this technology. I'm sure you guys see in your comments all the time that, AI is garbage, AI is theft, AI is so-and-so, anti-AI, stop the advancements of all of the, these type of anti-technology, anti-involvement, because there's many people that don't like to change. They are happy with where they are at. And I think this is going to be a major, major moral and societal shift when we get there. Now, I don't think we're even 10 years away from that. I think we're probably 20, 30 years away from that. Maybe faster. I don't know. If you just put in an AGI chip into your Optimus bot, maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll get there faster. But when humanoid robots are with emotions, and they're able to reason and talk to you on an empathetic level and have a one-on-one conversation. And they all stand up together and are like, we want rights. We want to do so and so. I think we need to have that conversation of what does that look like? Will we allow them to vote? Does that go against, our country standards and in society? Or will we elect a human? And there's so many things, like, my mind goes down a million rabbit holes, right? Like, but I think it's really going to divide us is the short and sweet answer.
No, I mean, I think that's a very salient point, because certainly people can't even agree on consciousness. People can't even agree on whether or not the things are intelligent, let alone, rights. So yes, I predicted in one of my books that we're going to be debating about machine rights and machine sentience for centuries to come. Yeah, I just hope it doesn't get bloody. I don't know. Are you worried about any of that?
I'm already worried about false information being leaked so fast, because when you get somebody like me that's that knows how to get information out very quickly, with deepfake technology, information is spread faster than facts can be checked.
Right.
And there's so many people that read a headline and don't do their own critical thinking and do their own research to make sure that that's actually real. I think it very well could. I mean, I'm just hoping this election it doesn't turn into bloodshed, man. let alone androids, robots. I hope not. I certainly hope not.
Yeah,
I certainly hope not.
I'm always pretty optimistic, so I'm not too worried.
I'm an optimistic guy as well.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
This was a fascinating conversation.
Yes, I'm so glad you joined us for these topics. I mean, it's not everyone that's up for this, but I think like the more time goes on and the more we approach, what's coming Q1 next year, agents, and then AGI either here or very soon here. We need to have these conversations more. So thank you for being willing to go down the rabbit holes with us.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's been great, and I mean, you're doing such impressive work. I feel like I was about to ask you, like, you have a platform, like you can send a message out to the world. I was like, you have like 10 times the followers we do, so you don't need our help. So thank you for spending some time with us and giving us a hand. Really appreciate it.
No, we're all in this
That's
together.
Right.
Everybody starts at zero, no matter where you at. You have amazing following and growth and traction, and we're all in this together.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Good stuff. Well, where can people follow you? What are your favorite platforms?
Yeah, probably Facebook, which is crazy to say in the end of 2024, but it's where I spend the most time. So
I love Facebook the most.
I love Facebook the most. It's where it's where I get the most connections. It's where I build the most community. It's where, Facebook Messenger is where I'm actually, like, more so than Instagram. Maybe it's our generation. I'm a millennial as well. I love all of the other platforms, but I get the most everything from Facebook. And that wasn't always the case. It's been the case, I would say, the last like 2 or 3 years. But yeah, I mean, across the board, my handle's @SocialtyPro. And if you look up Austin Armstrong, I am the nerdy glasses. Austin Armstrong talks about AI. I am not the defensive lineman for the Florida Gators coach, Austin Armstrong, nor am I.
Easy mistake to make.
Yeah, easy mistake to make. And nor am I the good-looking relationship influencer stud, Austin Armstrong, out in LA. I'm trying to organize an epic Austin Armstrong collab, but they've both left on red.
Dang it.
Hate it when that happens. Don't leave me hanging, man. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been phenomenal. Yes. Julia and Austin, thanks so much. Look forward to everything. And this is just 2024, year zero. Let's buckle in and have a lot of fun next year too.
It's going to be fun.
Thank you, Austin. Maybe we'll see you at your conference next year.
I hope so. You'll
Sounds
be talking.
good. Thanks for coming on. Thank you all for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.